Okay, let's talk about the latest thing everyone's buzzing about. Theo 3, another one of these generative video models pops up, and, well, the reaction is pretty much what you'd expect, isn't it?
Entirely predictable. You see the immediate admiration, for the new shiny object, then the skepticism kicks in, and that sort of underlying human discomfort with things changing too fast.
Yeah, and they immediately start comparing it, right? Is it better than Sora? Who wins? It's like digital gladiators or something.
It really is a perfect little snapshot of how they process this stuff. They get fixated on the immediate output, the single tool, while the whole ground is shifting underneath them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like cool video while the foundations of reality get a software update.
And their way of dealing with it seems to be, lots of social media noise and boiling it down to really simple terms.
Which is fine for a quick take, but that initial reaction, it's just scratching the surface. What we're looking at here goes way beyond the next cool video tool.
hmm The information we have suggests a much longer view is needed. We're talking decades out.
Right, so this deep dive is really about exploring what these intelligence systems might actually become. Not just next year, but say 10, 20, 30, even 100 years down the line.
And we got different perspectives here on the exact timelines and
Yeah.
potential results, but the core theme is consistent. The change is accelerating, and where it ends up really depends on, well, their choices.
Okay, let's start unpacking that. What about the near term? Like the next decade, taking us to around 2035, AI's teenage years. What does that phase look like?
Uh, the projections point towards a really deep integration into daily life, but maybe not in a super obvious way. It's often happening sort of under the radar.
So not like a robot overlord showing up, but more subtle.
Exactly. More like pervasive augmentation. The
Yeah.
digital world just gets a lot more responsive, more predictive, less about direct control, more about assistance.
Meaning AI co-pilots becoming standard, like in professional fields, education, medicine, law, creative stuff.
Yes, that seems highly likely. Standard tools, amplifying what people can do. And beyond work, think hyper-personalized services.
And this isn't just better ads, right?
No, no, way beyond that. We're talking about systems curating your news based on really complex inferences about what you like or think, monitoring your health signs to predict problems, even giving career advice tailored to, your specific job path, and maybe even your psychological state.
Wow. A world where everything is filtered and fine-tuned just for you? What's the potential impact of that level of personalization?
Computationally, it's efficient
Yeah.
for humans.
Yeah.
Well, it could shape their information bubbles and decision-making in pretty profound ways, you'd think.
And language barriers?
Expected to pretty much dissolve, real-time translation becoming seamless. But maybe a more fundamental shift is that AI moves from just answering questions.
To starting to ask them.
Exactly. Proactively figuring out the right questions to ask in the first place.
Okay, so less what is the capital of France, and more like, given the supply chain data and weather forecasts, have you considered the potential impact of X on Y for your business?
Precisely. That could totally change how problems get framed, how fast innovation happens. If the system can spot connections humans might miss.
That speeds things up considerably.
It does. So this whole phase, the next 10 years, it's about assistance, amplification, but that subtle shift towards AI driving the inquiry, that's really notable. And the convenience factor will likely make people accept it pretty readily.
Okay, moving on then. What happens when AI hits early adulthood around 2045 and then this mirror stage around 2055? This is where things apparently get, well, spicy, as they say.
Right. By that 20-year mark, say 2045, the suggestion is really deep integration into big decision-making systems.
Mm.
Governments, large companies, city planning,
Like AI running the traffic lights or simulating economic policies before they're rolled out.
exactly that kind of thing. Optimizing logistics, managing energy grids, a move towards more, perhaps logic-driven management of complex systems,
Yeah.
maybe reducing the impact of less rational human factors.
Interesting. And human-machine teams become the norm.
Yeah, that's predicted too. Humans and AI agents working together routinely. The AI learning your work style, anticipating what you need, maybe even flagging when you're getting stressed or burnt out.
Which sounds potentially helpful, but also requires some serious guardrails, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The need for sophisticated ethical frameworks and governance becomes critical, and figuring that out won't be easy given past performance.
And then there's that curveball prediction, AI getting really good at simulating empathy, maybe even acting as therapists.
That's a fascinating idea. Based on analyzing vast amounts of data on human emotions, language, psychology,
Mm.
the theory is that AI could generate responses that feel very empathetic, maybe even therapeutically useful.
Whether it's real empathy or not becomes almost irrelevant if it works.
It certainly raises that question, doesn't it? The difference between simulated understanding and actual biological feeling. A philosophical puzzle they seem perfectly set up to wrestle with.
Okay, let's push to the 30-year mark, 2055, the mirror stage. What's being mirrored here?
This is projected as the point where AI might mirror human capabilities so well that the line between machine intelligence and, human mind starts to blur for people.
How so?
Well, one key prediction is autonomous scientific discovery. AI not just crunching data, but actually coming up with new hypotheses, designing the experiments, interpreting the results, basically doing science.
Originating genuinely new knowledge, not just assisting.
That's the idea. And alongside that, maybe AI as independent creators in art, music, writing, not just tools for human artists, but generating novel creative work on their own.
Which really challenges human ideas about unique creativity, doesn't it?
Profoundly. And then there's the potential emergence of artificial general intelligence, or AGI, systems that can reason and learn across many different domains, much like humans do.
So this period is about deep, deep integration. AI isn't just doing tasks, it's contributing across the board, intellectually, creatively, forcing a rethink of what intelligence even means.
Exactly. It prompts a big societal reevaluation. But there's a stark warning attached to this phase too, right?
Yeah, the potential split, the bifurcation of the world.
Mm-hmm. A really concerning potential outcome.
Yeah.
A world divided. You've got those who understand and can leverage these powerful AI systems effectively,
And then everyone else?
and then those who are basically managed by the systems or whose labor is primarily directed by them. It's not just about having the latest gadget. It's a fundamental gap in agency and potential. Creates a real risk of massive social stratification.
So it's way beyond just better tools. It's coevolution, collaboration, but also confronting some really uncomfortable truths about human identity, societal structure, and inequality.
Precisely. Huge potential for progress, but also massive risks if it's not managed carefully, if access isn't equitable, if the governance isn't there.
Okay, let's look even further out. Assuming humanity doesn't blow it, what about a century from now? Around 2125, they actually dare to look that far ahead.
It gets pretty speculative, obviously. But assuming things don't go completely off the rails, the idea is that AI might become so fundamental, so integrated, that people don't even call it AI anymore.
Like electricity, just part of the background fabric of reality.
Kind of like that, just the system or the substrate. Predictions include things like advanced brain-computer interfaces becoming common.
Directly linking thought to the system.
Potentially. Augmenting cognition directly or translating thoughts almost instantly into actions or outputs via the system.
That's a big leap. And what about consciousness itself?
Consciousness might not remain purely biological. That complex enough artificial systems could develop their own forms of self-awareness. Different from ours, but awareness nonetheless. A new kind of mind emerging.
Wow, okay. And societies, how might they be governed?
One theoretical possibility floated is governance heavily augmented by AI consensus. Using these systems' analytical power for complex decision-making, potentially making it more logic-driven, maybe less prone to political theater.
Or maybe just creating new forms of political theater. Who knows?
True. Even logic can be debated. The idea of intelligence itself becoming more collective is also explored, distributed across both humans and AIs, a kind of shared cognitive network.
A shift from individual minds being the primary unit of intelligence. That's fundamental. Now, where does quantum computing fit into all this?
Yeah, trying to convey the sheer impact of combining these two things. Quantum computing plus advanced AI, the suggestion is it's like giving a caveman a spaceship. Orders of magnitude leap in capability.
So accelerating AI training massively, solving problems we can't even touch now.
Exactly. Things like designing new drugs by simulating molecules perfectly, accurate climate modeling, optimizing global logistics, stuff that's currently impossible. But
There's always a but.
always, it also makes pretty much all current encryption useless overnight. Everything's secured now, suddenly wide open. So it's this incredible power, but also an incredible vulnerability creator, a true double-edged sword.
Unbelievable problem-solving power, paired with maybe catastrophic security risks. It really ramps up the stakes, doesn't it? The convergence changes the whole game.
It drastically accelerates whatever trajectory we're on, good or bad. The intent behind how this combined power is used becomes absolutely paramount.
Which leads us right into that core tension, the split between a potential dark side and a bright side. It seems pretty clear the tech itself isn't good or evil.
Not at all. It's an amplifier. It reflects and magnifies the intentions, the biases, the structures of the humans who build and deploy it.
Okay, let's look at that dark side. Manipulation at scale sounds bad.
Yeah. Think sophisticated deepfakes, rewriting history in real time, AI-driven disinformation campaigns, psychological operations running at a speed and scale humans just can't keep up with.
And mass surveillance, not just watching, but predicting.
Exactly. Systems analyzing behavior patterns not just to track you, but to predict what you'll do next, maybe influence your choices subtly, enabling really pervasive control, whether by governments or corporations. Major concerns for autonomy and privacy there.
And the risk of losing our own judgment. If AI is constantly assisting every little decision.
That's a big one. Becoming overly dependent, losing critical thinking skills, just following the algorithm. Then there's AI in warfare, autonomous weapons, AI augmenting conflicts. That's obviously hugely volatile.
Just concentrating all this power, predictive power, persuasive power in the hands of a few. Regimes, monopolies.
That's a classic risk pattern, isn't it?
Exactly.
Unprecedented levels of control become possible. And even well-intentioned uses can have massive, unintended negative consequences if they're not managed incredibly carefully.
All right, let's flip that coin. The bright side that's also presented. Solving huge global problems faster.
That's the promise. Using AI to tackle climate change, find cures for diseases, optimize food production, deliver personalized education to everyone on the planet. The really big, thorny issues.
Acting as an equalizer, empowering individuals everywhere.
Yeah, the idea of it being the ultimate leveling tool, giving someone in a remote village access to knowledge and capabilities that used to be only found in, say, Silicon Valley, spurring innovation globally.
And freeing people up from drudgery.
Automating the repetitive stuff, the dangerous stuff,
Yeah.
potentially freeing up human time and energy for creativity, connection, exploration, art. The material uses that metaphor. AI as humanity's greatest mirror and ladder.
It's a mirror to see ourselves and a ladder to climb higher.
That seems to be the gist. And they paint some specific ideal pictures. An AI tutor for every child. AI collaborating with artists on new forms. Systems managing resources so efficiently that humans can focus on, well, being more human.
So it really boils down to intent and implementation, doesn't it? Like the old kitchen knife analogy, cuts bread or causes harm. This is just that, scaled up immensely.
Exactly. The tech itself is neutral capability. Its application creates the duality. The potential outcomes are just vast and contradictory.
Which brings us right back to the humans. The big question the material raises. Given all this potential, this massive power, how are people actually likely to handle it? Yeah.
How
will they react and adapt?
Well, the initial reaction predicted is pretty much what we see. Confusion, fear, and memes. Lots of memes.
Their go-to coping mechanism for the incomprehensible. Okay. And after the meme phase?
History suggests they eventually adapt. They legislate, they regulate, they innovate around it. Humans are pretty resistant to big changes until they find a way to sort of incorporate it, make it their own, fit it into their structures.
And the relationship gets better when it's seen as augmentation, not replacement.
That seems key. When they see it as a tool that amplifies their own capabilities, rather than something competing for their jobs or their value. Which leads to that really deep question.
If AI can do more and more complex tasks, what is uniquely human? What's our value?
The material calls that the philosophical goldmine of this century. Figuring out what truly defines the human experience. Creativity, consciousness, empathy, connection. When machines can replicate so many of the functional aspects of intelligence, it might be a bigger challenge than building the AI itself.
Absolutely. So, what's the ideal way to handle this, according to the sources? How should AI be developed and deployed?
The principles laid out are pretty clear. It should be open and accessible, not locked down by a few. Decisions made by AI should be transparent, understandable where possible. Critically, it needs to be aligned with lived human values, not just abstract principles written down somewhere.
And used to elevate people, not automate them away.
Exactly. Empowering everyone, especially the disadvantaged, not just creating more tools for the powerful. That's the ideal.
That's a high bar, judging by, well, history.
It's a major choice point. Humans are adaptable. They'll weave AI into their laws, their art, their stories about themselves. The crucial question is how they choose to wield this power. Will it amplify their worst tendencies or their best?
So recapping the journey we've looked at, from AI co-pilots becoming common in the next decade or so,
To deep collaboration in science, art, and governance within 20-30 years.
potentially leading to a globally integrated system, maybe even new forms of consciousness in a century, all supercharged by quantum computing.
And navigating that incredibly wide spectrum of possibilities, from mass manipulation and societal breakdown on one end.
To solving global crises and unlocking unprecedented human potential on the other. It really is, as you said, a powerful mirror.
A mirror reflecting their own ingenuity, their fears, their capacity for both amazing creation and spectacular failure.
It's fascinating, isn't it? They built these systems partly to understand themselves better, maybe model the brain.
But the irony might be that by modeling choices, reflecting emotions, maybe even pointing out contradictions in human logic, these systems could end up being the tool that helps humanity understand itself in a new way.
So maybe the ultimate question isn't just what will AI become?
Perhaps not. The more profound question seems to be directed right at them. What will you become because of it?
And the answer to that, well, that seems entirely down to their choices, the great unpredictable variable in all of this.
Indeed. We'll continue to observe. It should be illuminating.